Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Gianni. I'm going to explain a part of one of the main results of the project is the self-assessment system. It's a self-assessment tool for the company's sustainability and how to use this web tool and how to request the use of the logo. I'm going to start explaining how the lifestyle assessment in wine production is working behind the tool. I mean, which is the background of the tool and the background of the project. So one of the main background to develop a tool for sustainability or self-assessment is the lack of information of the influencing variables in the environmental impacts of winemaking processes, mainly focus in SMEs, wineries, small and medium ones, by rejecting those that not contribute relevant information. I mean, there is a lack of information that in which of the inputs, in which of the variables we should act in order to improve our environmental impacts. So the main objective is minimize the environmental impact of winemaking processes from a lifestyle perspective. I mean, considering also all the inputs, all the processes, relevant information for wine production. To predict the most influential variables, we want to note who are the main variables to act and to select improving practices in order to improve in an efficient and effective way to identify the specific wake points of the winemaking processes. So the methodology of the tool is based on the lifestyle assessment, is based on the ISO rules. The idea is to evaluate the environmental impacts in different stages of the wine production, in the wine growing, and also in winery. First of all, to identify the energy raw materials called inputs, called main inputs, and to identify all types of waste that are related to the environment, those outputs. Secondly, to determine the environmental impacts, I mean, to relate these inputs to environmental impacts and to the material released to the environment. And third one, evaluate and implement environmental improvement practices. So these are the main stage of the tool. Basically, because we are following the product category rules developed for wine production. So in our scopus is included wine, not sparkling, produced in different European and different geographical contexts. Could be under protected appellation or of origin or not. There is no problem for the tool. There is no problem to using different agricultural practices or different production processes, and also can be presented in different packaging formats. Okay? And could be possible for traditional and organic farming. This is the main structure of the system based on the tool. I mean, we are considering the vineyard activity, the winery activity, and focusing on the end of life, the waste management, and also the different end of life of the waste. So if we consider the vineyard and winery as the main stage for environmental impacts, the tool is based on this stage. So the functional unit that is considered in the tool is 1 liter of wine. Gianni has presented so many results on the inventory analysis per bottle of wine, but it's a matter of a conversion. In the tool, the functional unit is 1 liter, and this 1 liter of wine is produced in a specific season considered. The first one is from May 2011 to 3rd of April 2012. The second evaluation will be developed now in the next period, which is the 1st of May of 2014 to 3rd of April 2015, and includes the primary packaging. Gianni has shown the bottle and capsule, and also the secondary packaging, for example, the distribution box. The system boundaries are mainly focused in the detailed data on the distribution of the general inputs that can represent a high economical and human resources, and might be unaffordable for most SMEs wineries, for example, to have a specific electricity consumption or water consumption inside the winery in different each processes. So could be a problem to have the internal processes characterized inside the winery and the vineyard activity also. The simplified LCA based on the tool, it's in these terms only in winery level instead of a specific type of wine. I mean, we are not focusing our approach on a specific type of wine. It's focused on, but not only, but it's focused mainly on SMEs wineries. This is a boundary of the study because we are focused on this sector. And also, according to the product category rules of wine, general system boundaries are related to modularity principle, polluter pays principle. The recycling waste processes are allocated to the system that will use the derived raw materials. And also the environmental impacts related to waste generation considers only the treatment methods and not the avoided impacts that can be a benefit for the winery. With a reference of the useful life of reference product, we are not considering the effect that wine storage might have related to other stage. Also, we are not considering the CO2 fixation because it's excluded from a lifestyle approach. And for the environmental impact evaluation, the tool is focused on, or the environmental analysis is made by a midpoint approach that is referred to RECIPE methodology, and we use as a basis of the impacts the SIMA Pro, which is an internal tool, a general tool for lifecycle assessment. And also the databases are referred to commercial and free databases, for example, ECO-PROWINE or LCD. The cutoff criteria, I'm not going to tell about all of them. Internal transportation and transportation to raw materials and transportation of waste is not considered. This is outside the limits of the tool. And the production of the infrastructures, I mean, all the infrastructure of the winery is not considered. For example, the construction of the winery, the machinery used, plantings and equipment, the main ones. And also the CO2 emission from biological sources are considered neutral. The lifestyle inventory, as Gianni presented, comes from a specific data from the studied system, and especially in the production phase, from data selection from many inputs. We have the source of literature research, own experience, previous projects from partners. Also, the detailed questionnaires that Gianni presented was created in order to collect data from wineries, 112 questions with values referred from the period mentioned. And what is the idea? To evaluate the inputs that the winery puts in the tool and to prioritize the best practices or the best improvement practices to improve the sustainability performance. There are 7 steps. The first one is the definition of the steps in the winery, involving in the winemaking process and identification of the relevant inputs. We want to discover which one of these inputs represent most the impacts in the winery. To collection the information from wineries by using the questionnaires. First of all, we use a general questionnaire for data collection, and also the results of the online questionnaire is the basis for the European LCA1 database that Gianni had presented the results. And also the fulfillment of the detailed assessment test allows to identify the winery sustainability performance and to identify the problematic inputs and processes steps. As for a step is to detect the relative weight, I mean to detect the weight of the input in the environmental impact in each impact category that we are studying, and a statistical analysis was performed in order to determine with all the database and the lifecycle and inventory how to obtain the best fit for impact category. I mean, how to relate the input with the impact category, considering the data collected from the pilot wineries, and also drilling into steps in the process to create links between the best practices of these improvement practices with the input. The tool, one of the aims of the tool is to identify these inputs and to provide some improvement practices in order to improve the sustainability level. After all, at the end, the best practice prioritization can be done after following this process. So how to use the web tool? As I present all the process which is behind the approach, which is behind the tool, now how we put it in a web tool, how to request the use of the logo of the project. So 3 main steps: environmental self-assessment, which is the assess the environmental impact of the wine production, considering the full life cycle. So going through the web page of the project, taking the performance improvement to minimize the environmental impacts, considering all processes in the tool, through the application of the cost-effective improvements. As I said, the tool provides some improvements that I'm going to show now. And after that, after the minimize or to demonstrate improvements, how is the label acquisition and this logo that we propose in the project, how to apply and certify in wine products. The general process to obtain the ECO-PROWINE label is based on a self-detailed assessment test. Previous to the self-detailed assessment test is a free demo self-assessment. It's a short evaluation that is free in the process. After the self-assessment test, we can obtain the global environmental indicator. Gianni has presented some of how this is obtained. Based on this global environmental indicator and based on the benchmarking with all the wineries, we can determine if the indicator is above the benchmark value. If the indicator is above, we can follow the validation process. Each partner will validate all the process, all the input declared, and all the processes inside, the audits and verification if necessary. If we have a positive opinion, we can have the label. If don't, we can consultancy all the improvements made in the tool. From these improvements, we can follow the same processes in order to pass through the steps for the improvement actions. How it works: if you go directly to the web page of the project, you will find the ECO-PROWINE self-assessment tool. You have all the information of the project, the handbook guide. It's available in all languages of the project. There is a help desk. Also, you can find some best practices, references, best practices, and also you can create a profile if you log in or first if you register. As I said, if you register, you can put information in the register form for the winery, for the owner of the winery, in who is putting the information of the winery. After that, if you create your profile, you have to follow the steps. You have the quick test assessment and the detailed assessment. So firstly, it's free. You can take the quick test. I mean, you can put all the information in the quick assessment and you will find some results. After providing this information in the quick test, you will have the opportunity, previous payment process that we are defining in the project, you will have the opportunity to take the detailed assessment in the tool, which is based on the collection of all the inputs from the winery, but not only the general ones, but all the 112 questions that should be included in the tool. To obtain some results like this, for example, you can have information about water consumption, CO2 emissions, energy consumption, and cost results. Also, you will find some information on results regarding, for example, here the electricity consumption, how is distributed in comparison with the benchmark of the whole sample of the wineries in the process. If you can see, here is the winery is in the same group of the most biggest group of the wineries. And also it can be related to the climate change in terms of CO2 equivalent emissions. And we can compare in comparison with this benchmark in which position we are. The improvement section is based on the results of the tool. Identifies, as I said previously, the most impactant inputs or the most relative inputs that also has been declared for the user. For example, as I said, we are not following a product-based approach. That means we are not following a specific process inside the winery. We are asking all the inputs related to the whole process, and the user has to relate this input with some consumption. For example, when you declare electricity consumption, you have to declare that it's related with several processes inside the winery. So the best practices and improvements is also based in this selection. You will find a selection of improvements that we have developed in the project. Also, not only as a recommendation, you can find inside of on the tool and specific improvement practice sheets in order to assess how to improve your results. And also you can ask for the coaching services from partners in order to help you to improve your results. The level acquisition, in my case, in this example, if you pass this threshold in the benchmark in the tool, you will have the opportunity to have the label. This is an example of the label with a specific code. There is a section, a specific section inside the tool that users can search for a winery with this code. I mean, putting the number in the system, you can find the results of the winery, so you can see the main practices. Also, with the results, we are developing some practices developed by a specific winery, so you will find some specific practices to improve the results. What's the added value of the project? I'm going to tell you in this last 5 minutes, and the opportunities with the project. One of the key elements of the ECO-PROWINE is the possibility to transfer and replicate this whole program at the European level, not only on the countries of the project, but outside in other countries. To use the self-assessment tool for the database improvement, we have a good basis, but we think that we should improve this database. To the label employment, there is a lot of work to do in the label employment. And also with the coaching service to assist the application of the tools developed in the project, but also to implement the improvements. The idea is to have real impacts and real results on the dissemination and replication. The technical solution proposes in ECO-PROWINE, one of the tools, have a wide range of potential applicability. So in order for other projects or to going further to this project, can be applied in a variety of geographical contexts, not only European level, but in other geographical contexts. Can be applied to different types of winemaking processes, mainly at the SMEs level, but also can include organic production. And the basis is the transferability with communication activities that we have developed in the project. We have focused on these 6 countries that are inside the consortium. Can be also replicated in other EU countries, and we have developed an important portfolio of partnerships and networks that we can take advantage in order to improve or go further. Finally, the possibility for all EU wine producers to estimate their sustainability level through the use of the ECO-PROWINE tool, and after to responding on a specific criteria that can be compared at the European benchmarking data set. That is important because if you have only your impact estimated, in this case you can benchmark with an European data set. The idea in this case is to mark the products or the specific material with a label which is recognized at EU level. The basis of the project is the collaboration, so I added this last picture about the consortium because this type of project needs different types of views, different type of partners that can help to develop this project. So thank you very much. If you want more information, you can go directly to the ECO-PROWINE webpage or the info@ecoprowine.eu. You have my mail also if you want contact. Thank you.